Hello guys, once again. So we're coming now to the final half day of my CSPO classes. So that's the fourth day. That's the afternoon session on the second day, so after lunch. And this is pretty much about summarizing already everything that we heard about. So it's a lot of repetition already in there with some new content, of course. So to finish off the learning objectives, to complete everything that is required, and to create this connection between those various different elements, right? So I'll share my screen once again with you that I can give you an overview of that. And you should have it on your screen now once again. We start after lunch, like always in my courses, with a video, and this is about a conference call in real life. So it's really funny. I really like that a lot. So yeah, I recommend to watch it. So the afternoon session is about parts of understanding customers and users and validating product assumptions, right? In the morning, we talked about parts of working with the product backlog and understanding customers and users. So there is, of course, overlap between the various different half days because all the topics are somehow linked together, of course. So it's not that clearly distinguishable, but that's pretty much the main aspect of the afternoon, what I had here. So we start with a little bit of theory here. I begin to talk about about problem and solution space once again. We already had that earlier in the course. This is about requirements, elicitation, about requirements gathering, about understanding customer needs. Yeah. And you can see here are 4 stickies which are related to the product, to the learning objectives. I don't know, I have so much product is stuck in my brain. I need to get out of that, of this. Yeah. So it's about the learning objectives. I wanted to say product once again, sorry. And here are also the numbers once again. It's benefits for the dev teams, connect dev team to customers, things like that, which are also somehow related, of course, to the agile principles. And that's what we talk about a lot when we summarize this concept of problem and solution space. What you have here in red is actually an anti-pattern. This is the common behavior that a lot of document handoffs exist before understanding is supposedly created in a development team, that they can create a system, a product, a solution, whatever. Yeah. So this is the first aspect of this final half day. We then dig a little bit deeper into the concept of incremental development. I challenge actually the participants a little bit with this concept of an e-truck, yeah, like electrical vehicles. And the concept I use here is that we start off with a scooter, and then an e-bike, then an e-car, and then an e-truck in the end. So that this concept of we can go to a market, but it might be actually a different user group, which is addressed here, that we have all these aspects in this concept. It's challenging for clients. It's very often something they can't grasp right away, but through the conversations we have and through the communication, they also are able to map that back to their real life scenarios, to their own environments, their own products. And that's exactly a very, very valuable conversation we usually create in here. Yeah. We also talk a little bit here about this all-at-once approach we have in Scrum versus what is this abuse of the waterfall idea, actually. So this sequential development. And we also talk about that this is another paradigm shift which is hidden actually in the whole concept of Scrum. I make it very clear throughout the course that there are some paradigm shifts that we really start to think out of the box, and sometimes by 180 degrees we need to turn our idea of approaching something around. So it's really a mindset shift, it's a paradigm shift, and this is one of them as well. In incremental development, not just for the development per se, but also for the strategic aspect behind that, so that we can go to a market much earlier than we would have done in a traditional setup, in a traditional approach, right? So we also recap once again the concept of definition of done, but dig a little bit deeper into that. Also, who is talking to whom, like the development, it's actually for the development team to figure out whether something is done, also for the product owner, also for the stakeholders actually. And that, in my personal understanding, that this conversation should be up, that we have an evolutionary approach to a definition of done. So if a team can only start with a weak definition of done, which is not good, and we have this kind of undone work still remaining, or technical debt actually sometimes, that we also need to work on getting a stronger definition of done, that we in an evolutionary concept, improve the definition of done, like getting automated testing on board, getting architecture into the team, getting documentation into the team, if it's separated at this very point in time in an organization. And that this can also mean that is or very often it means that that the entire organization needs to change, that the setup needs to change, the structures, the processes, etc., everything of that. So that the definition of done is actually almost something like a change tool for the organization, right? You have here also a video. You can watch that and see me talking about the definition of done in one of my classes. I think this was in a co-training actually with Susie Sochova. Yeah, that's where it is from. And the final round in our CSP class, in my CSP classes, on our 4th day, is that we do a summary of everything we heard, but in a special version. And the special version I mean here is we create a profile for the product owner role, for the job of a product owner. So I'll ask people what kind of skills do a product owner have, need for the activities which are required, what kind of activities does a product owner do, what's the goal, like maximizing value and things like that. Also, what rights and duties are attached to that. For example, that just the product owner has the rights to cancel a sprint, to stop a sprint. And also, what kind of supportive education do you think is really important for a product owner, like product management, maybe economics, whatever comes up in the class then. But that's what I add then also from my perspective. And that's the very last interaction we have in this class, in terms of theory and summarizing everything which was done. And what I usually do in my class then by the end, of course, is that I reserve some time for further Q&A, for some questions and answers I can provide to them. Because very often some of the participants I had were really overwhelmed with all these paradigm shifts and with the different way of working. Some of them realized, okay, I'm not really a product owner right away. Right now, I need to change my behavior or role descriptions and so on. Also the organization in the end, maybe. And what that means and what can be done and so on. And also what other trainings might be handy for that. Would it make sense for a product owner also to attend a Scrum Master class, for example? Get a certificate for that, CSM. Advanced Scrum Master, Advanced Certified Scrum Product Owner, HR Leadership, all these kind of trainings we can offer in addition. To talk a little bit about that, and also about the feedback and their impression from the course and what they feel right after the training now. So also to get my feedback, to learn, so also that I can learn and improve the classes in future, right? And then celebrating. I think that's always very important. I also explained that for reviews, do a little bit of storytelling there, that for reviews, I think this aspect of appreciating something that was really completed, really done. So this valuing that work is done and in a high quality fashion, that something was achieved, is very important. Yeah, that's why I have celebrating in here. So we do it also in the class because we achieved something, we learned something, we delivered something. Yeah, it's great. And saying goodbye. That's it for my 4 half days. Like I said, you have in the stickies much more detailed than I explained in the videos. And if you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to ask me. I'm not a native speaker, as you can hear probably, and as you can read, I make mistakes. I have definitely typos in there, and sometimes words mean something different to me because I run my classes usually in German. I do also some English classes, but I prefer to do it in German. So if there is a misunderstanding, or if you think you're a native, if you're a native speaker and you think this is not American English, it's German English or something like that, let me know, please. I also like to learn. Yeah, and thank you for all your efforts putting into it and by reviewing that. Thanks. Hope to see you at some conferences soon again.